Okay, today's lesson is lesson 41, and it's going to be all review. So we're going to quickly go through this. We're going to talk about the Pythagorean theorem and the distance formula. So in order to use the Pythagorean theorem, remember we need a right triangle. Here's just a few quick reminders that you've been dealing with for years, but obviously we have one right angle and a right triangle. The side across from a right angle is the hypotenuse, and that will always be the longest side. And then the remaining two sides are called legs. Our Pythagorean theorem then is a squared plus b squared equals c squared. So a and b are your two legs. They're always the two shorter sides. C will always be your longest side, or the hypotenuse, directly across from that right angle. The kicker here, the big thing, is that the triangle has to be a right triangle in order to use the Pythagorean theorem. So we can decide whether given three side lengths do they create a right triangle? Well, you can just test the Pythagorean theorem. Is 15 squared plus 36 squared equal to 39 squared? Remember, hypotenuse is longest side, that's why it's over here by itself. If you do the math, you do see that they are equivalent on each side, so it is a right triangle. You can be given a picture and try to find a missing side as well. You guys have done this before. Again, 30 would be our hypotenuse, so we would have x squared plus 24 squared equals 30 squared. Solve and you get 18. Okay, you could be asked to find the value when it's given on a coordinate plane, and this kind of bridges between our Pythagorean theorem and our distance formula. So here it's really easy to find your distance of W, or your length of W, because this drops down and creates a right triangle. But every time you go to find a distance, you're not going to want to draw a right triangle every time. We can use Pythagorean theorem to find that hypotenuse, or W, but instead of having to create those right triangles every time we're given a coordinate plane, we have the distance formula. So our distance is a square root of x2 minus x1 squared plus y2 minus y1 squared. Okay, we're going to use that really quick. We're just going to find the distance between these 2 points. If you plug it in, remember you're subtracting your 2x values and squaring them. Adding the difference of your 2 y values, we would have 11 minus -1, which is where this plus 1 came from, and square that. That becomes a distance of 13. Last chapter we talked a lot about square root becoming plus or minus, but in distance problems we only worry about the positive version because distance cannot be negative. So that's a quick reminder of Pythagorean theorem and distance formula.